Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
And welcome into Life Planning 101 on this terrific Tuesday. It is a terrific Tuesday because here in Eastland, Texas,
it's raining.
It
is.
Some much needed rain out there, Angela. And Angela with us as usual. A day late because of President's Day yesterday. So the markets were closed. I hope everyone enjoyed. Those that got the holiday, I hope you all enjoyed it.
That's right. We did enjoy it. It was so nice. And of course, all this Olympic stuff has been all fun and around our house all week. And, you know, a 5-year-old, yes, 5-year-old thinks he's a snowboarder. So, you know. It's awesome. It's awesome. So
he's going to have a little hard. Well, y'all go to Montana?
Yes.
So he can snowboard up there.
Yeah, he's been skiing. Some reason Dad told him not till you're 8, so we'll see what happens with the snowboarding. So anyway, but we do have a great topic today, and I tell you where this spun from. So we've had some weeks of volatility in the markets, right? And anytime, and I always try to listen to, you know, radio and just kind of hear what's out there and what's going on and what, you know, is being advertised. And anytime the market gets crazy like this, you start to see ads everywhere. Buy gold. Fix your income, right? Don't risk the stock market. Secure your income at 8% and yada, yada, yada. I mean, you got all these ads that are running everywhere, right? And so you got to question yourself and say, why are they doing this? Is there really something out there that's not too good to be true? Or are they playing on your emotions?
Right.
You know, fear, greed, you got to think about those things. And the truth is, unfortunately, is they're playing on your emotions 99% of the time. I mean, in reality, if you think about why would you buy an asset that isn't even used in today's world except for jewelry? Right? Think about that.
Sure.
And it's being sold as a safety net.
They don't even make teeth out of them anymore.
That's right. They don't even make teeth out of them anymore. But, you know, and when India's not buying it, there's a good sign that you probably shouldn't be buying it either, because it means it's overpriced, right? And it's not to say that, you know, things can't change, but, you know, it's sold as a safety net asset, when in reality, it's just as volatile, if not more volatile, than the stock market is. Yep. The commissions on it are ungodly, right? I mean, just the price of it is extremely expensive. Plus, if you buy physical gold, it has to be stored somewhere and you have to pay a housing fee. It's just, I mean, it's crazy, and it's less marketable.
Sure.
At the end of the day. So, you know, here it is sold as a safety net, when in reality, we know it's a complete opposite. And I think I, you know, shared a story about a gentleman that really got scared several years ago, and he actually sold out of his IRA, took the penalties, bought gold, and at the end of the day, it cost him about 70%.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long does it take to make that back?
Right, if you can.
If you can,
you know, because it's extremely painful. So what I really want to talk about today is buyer beware. Financial products are sold with bias. And I want to kind of go through some of these and debunk the myths, so to speak. And then at the end of the show, we're going to talk about really what you really need to be thinking about and how to kind of overcome this fear or greed strategy get in the way of your success, because it's exactly what it is. I mean, you think about that gentleman, how can you recover from that? Has that changed his life forever?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it has, especially when that's majority of the money that he saved over the years for his income.
Wow.
So, you know, you think about that. You don't want it to make a misstep. And unfortunately, we are irrational. I actually pulled this quote. This was really, really perfect for today's show, and I'll see if I can get to it real quick. But, you know, sometimes we have emotions that just get in the way of everything. And, you know, we don't really think about... We don't think of it that way. We think of, you know, we try to think that we're making the right decision. We all have this, I know what I'm doing, and I'm okay, right? But this is Dale Carnegie's quote, and I love this. He says, when dealing with people, remember, you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion.
Absolutely.
Okay. So even though we may have all the logic accessible to us, we are still emotional. And, do you know anybody that's not emotional about the hard money that they've earned, or the money that they've worked so hard to save and earn over the years?
There's people that work for me know there's a phrase that I have around here. I'm funny about my money. They know if I'm out of town that I want them to go to the post office and check the mail at 9 o'clock and let me know. I mean, I'm just funny about my money.
That's
most
right.
People are.
And most people are, right? We're not creatures of logic all the time when it comes to our money. And that can actually work against you. I mean, that's the scary part, because you got to think about if you begin with a fear in your head that something's going to happen.
Right.
Does that fear grow?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Earl Nightingale says, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become a reality.
And it'll consume you.
Yes.
It'll consume your life.
That's exactly
and
right.
your decision making.
And is that really what you want your money to do for you?
No.
No, absolutely not. We talk about on this show all the time about, the one thing that people want most from money is to stop thinking about it. Right? So let's figure out how to debunk these myths, get over the fears, get over the greed, and be able to overcome that so you can work on living life on purpose.
All right. We'll get to it right after this commercial break. Life Planning 101 continues right here on KATX KWBY. Angela has great information. Let's get to it.
Yes. So buyer beware. Financial products sold with bias, right? And I think this is one of our biggest things at Kennedy Financial Services is being independent and really looking at person's situation from a holistic, non-biased selection of where they're at in life,
services,
right? Exactly. Yeah. And, I'll never forget my dad, he came from the banking industry in the 70s, and he said, everything in the banking industry, the solution is a bank product. And, then he went into insurance, and he said everything in the insurance industry was a solution of insurance or annuities, right? And then he went into the investment world. And then he said everything was an investment as a solution. And he, in 89, he said, I'm sick of it. I can't take it anymore. And so, that's when our firm was established as what it is today, of looking at things from a non-biased point of view. And that is so important, because is there really a one-size-fits-all product out there?
Absolutely not.
And everything seems to be sold that way. If you think about it on the radio, what do you hear? It's either annuities or gold or CDs or stocks or insurance, anything else. Everything is sold as this blanketed perfect fit for everyone. And here's the thing and this is so funny, because it's a secret that everybody knows, but you either don't want to realize it or you've maybe just never thought about it, is that everyone has something to sell. And everyone makes money. No one works for free, right? And if they do, they're not going to stay in business very long, right? So, how does an insurance agent make money? They sell what? Annuities or insurance, right?
And they receive a commission.
That's right. How does a banker make money? They have to sell their bank products, whether it be accounts or CDs or loans or whatever that is. How does a precious metals broker make their money?
Selling precious metals.
That's right. Gold and silver. How does a stockbroker make their money? Whether it's stocks or bonds or mutual funds or whatever, how does an investment advisor make their money? They sell investment management, right? So it doesn't matter who you're getting the advice from. I think you just have to realize that you're going to receive some type of bias in that advice based upon who you're talking to. And it's really at no fault of theirs. Is the insurance agent necessarily trained in the investment advisory world? No. So could they give you advice on that? And I see
they might try.
They might try, right? And I see people all the time say, "Well, I've got to have my CPA look over it." Well, be honest with yourself. How much does your CPA know about insurance? Right. How much does your CPA know about investments? How much do they know about banking? They might know a little bit of everything, right? But are they really going to be able to drill down in the details and understand it? And too many times the answer is absolutely not. I just hope that you have a CPA that's willing to tell you that I don't know. And we got to seek advice.
That'll reach out and ask other professionals.
That's exactly right.
We've had Blake Briscoe on many times, and I get letters from Blake periodically throughout the year. Hey, Terry, I think it would be good for you to meet with this individual right here to do some planning.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's so important, that no one sells himself as the know-it-all in every area. And, just like we say, we're a quarterback. We know enough to be dangerous. And then we bring in the experts where we need to bring in the experts. And I think that's so important because I cringe when I hear people say things like, I bought this annuity and it didn't cost me anything. Well, I'm sorry. If it had guarantees on it, guarantees are expensive, and the cost came from somewhere.
Right.
I hear all the time we get, phone calls. There's some advertisement on WBAP of about 8% income guaranteed for life. Well, there's a cost to that, I promise you. And when you boil down and you look at it, you're like, ooh, I don't know if I really want to do that, right? Or when people say, I bought physical gold and my money is safe. Well, we already talked about that in the first segment of,
sure,
is it really safe, right? It's probably more volatile than the market is itself, and it costs you more, right? Or my broker only believes in buying stocks. Imagine that. Why would they only believe in buying stocks? Okay. Well, stocks are a great investment. They can be cheap. Everything about them is very plentiful. But do you remember us talking over and over again on the show about what the average investor's return is in the stock market? Around 2%.
Right.
Why is that? Because their emotions get in the way. They can't stand the roller coaster of it all, so they sell at the wrong time. They buy at the wrong time. It's horrible, right? So, yeah, they may be cheap, but do they really work? Ken Fisher has these ads everywhere. I hate annuities, okay? And he sells stocks. Well, all of his clients are victims of this 2% fallacy unless they just refuse to open their statements because they're going to have emotions. There's no way you can be 100% invested in the stock market and not be emotional about it. I'm emotional about it. So when it comes to your own money, right, when it comes to your own money, that's just what happens. That's what happens. We have this, just think about if you only had enough food to get you through the winter, what would you do? Would you allow anyone to come into your house and share with you?
Probably not.
Probably not, right. Okay, so think about that. So what are you doing with your money? Could you be doing the same thing because you're worried?
Right.
Yeah, you probably are. Or on the opposite end, you finally find, okay, well, if I go plant these last few seeds, I'm going to have this bundle, I'm going to be able to sell it to everybody. But if a drought comes, what happens? You just lost everything. So we get greedy because of our fears sometimes.
And we hoard.
Yes, and we hoard. So, none of these things are entirely true. It's going to cost you money. There's nothing that's 100% safe without some risk of something. Even cash has risk. And people don't realize that all the time. I know a family that had their house burned down with $500,000 of cash. Poof. Gone.
Oh.
Okay? Poof. Gone. So even if that would, imagine that $500,000 would have sat in cash and nothing ever happened, but it sat there for 10 years. Okay? Well, when it declines by 4% a year because the cost of living is going up, what is that really worth in 10 years?
Not as much as it was in day one.
No, it's probably worth about 3/4 of that.
Right.
Okay? So even cash has risk. And I think sometimes we feel safe by doing something, but in reality, we could be hurting ourselves really, really, really bad. I'll never forget a couple we had come in, and man, we just could not. And and I told you on the show last week, we always go back and say, what did we do wrong? What did we look at wrong? How did we not explain this well enough? And we actually ran their numbers, and because of the way that they were investing their money, they had this safe money. Okay, $250,000 of safe money that they weren't going to touch. But yet they were pulling about 8% off of their other money that was in the market going up and down.
Right.
And at that rate, and what they were doing, how they were strategizing that, they're going to run out of money within 15 to 20 years, and they're in their late 50s. Okay.
And they're probably
going to live
a lot longer than that.
Live a lot longer than that. And they're healthy, traveling the world, nothing wrong, none of this stuff. You rearrange those buckets, and you were able to kind of show them, okay, this is where, if you let this here for your safe money, this is your long-term money, you let it grow, you don't touch it, yada, yada, yada. Just rearranging things, that money would well outlive them. But they said, I can't touch that money. That's my safe money. They couldn't get that out of their heads. And what it was doing was it was killing them. It was killing their entire plan. So, sometimes our emotions just run amok. And, you got to ask yourself, is this really what's best for me? When we come back, we're going to talk more about buyer beware right here on Life Planning 101 with Kennedy Financial Services.
Wow, final segment of Life Planning 101 already. Angela has some more great stuff.
Yes, and we're talking about, investments that have bias. And, one thing that we always do at Kennedy Financial Services with our clients is we say, are you sleeping at night? Is anything keeping you awake at night? We call it our sleep test, right? What's keeping you awake at night?
And what is the highest percentage of things that keep people awake at night?
What do you think? Money, right?
The Dallas Cowboys?
No. Well, that keeps me awake at night. But money, yeah, absolutely. And their children, a lot of times it's
money's
the kids,
usually
but money's
right there
usually
at the
the
top.
culprit. That's right. And so, we're more apt to fall prey if we're worried. Would you agree with that? If you hear a solution for something you're looking for, you're avidly looking for because of fear, what are you about to do? Probably make a wrong decision.
Yes.
Okay. You're making that decision out of fear. And I can't stress that enough. How many times we've begged people, please just
think about it.
Think about
Sleep
what you're
on
doing, and their fears just got them in such a bind that they can't move. They're paralyzed, and I'll never forget at the bottom of the market in 2009, we had a husband and wife in our office, and they had been going through some other problems with family and things like this, and she was just a disaster, as far as her mind, and she wasn't in a good place at all, and she was so scared of that market. And she said, I got to get out. I just want to take everything to cash. And her husband's like, no, please don't do it. Please don't do it. And we're like, no, please don't do it. Please don't do it. She had plenty of income set up for the next 3 years. It's not like she needed the cash. She just couldn't handle the emotional stress of it. And anyway, she did it. Well, about 6 months later, she came back in the office and she said, well, why is mine like that and his is like that? What happened? Because the market, shot back up. We recovered very nicely because we were actually buying in the whole time that, it was going
low.
down.
Yeah.
Right. And she just couldn't go over it. And we said, well, you told us to go to cash. And she said, no, I didn't. Her husband said, oh, yes, you did. Thank God he said that, And so, but here's the deal is that, and I've mentioned this on the show before, is that we all have this little thing in our head called an amygdala.
Right.
Okay. And it's there to protect us, right? When we go through times of stress or grief, we forget a lot. And it's meant to do that. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, are you really acting rational? And, you've heard the story about when you have someone die in your family, you're not supposed to make any major decisions for 12 months.
Right.
There's a good reason for that. Okay?
It's almost like temporary insanity.
That's exactly right.
Really.
That's exactly right. And what we always say is that, number one, you got to have a plan. Okay. You got to have a plan to invest for all seasons. You got to make sure that your income's there, that if you are invested in the market, you're not going to suffer the downfall of the market. Okay. And that's there available, and you got to have a plan for when the market does drop to be able to take advantage of it. Right. Number two is you've got to be able to have somebody you can trust to help get you through that time so you don't make irrational decisions. Because if it's all in your court, unfortunately, you're going to do it.
Right.
It's human nature. If it's someone else's money, you may not do it. But if it's your own money, you're going to do it. Okay, so you have to have someone that you can confide in and trust and make sure you lean on to be able to help you stay rational, to be your coach through those difficult times, right? And number three, you got to have a way to stop thinking about it. And I think that's something that we always forget about. But, I see people that the people that have the most trouble with their money in retirement are the people that have nothing to retire to. All they do is think about their money.
And a lot of those people do retire and unfortunately don't last very long.
That's right. So, having a plan, having something to retire to, having purpose outside of what your money, let your money just be your tool to help you live life on purpose and to have a successful retirement, right?
Right.
But have a purpose, have something to focus on. Do not turn on Kramer. Don't do it, okay? Don't turn on any kind of, WBAP or anything else. If you're going to listen to a show on Saturday morning, listen to Life Planning 101, because I promise you we're not going to sell you some biased product on this show. It's not going to happen, okay?
And so many of those things they're infomercials.
That's exactly right.
They pay big money to TV stations, radio stations, to get that word out.
That's exactly right. And then once you go to their seminar and buy something, okay? Buy annuities, buy something. And just, you are literally their victim. There's so many victims in our industry of finance. And it's not because anybody's awful. I don't ever think an insurance agent's just an awful person, okay? But they know one thing and one thing only for every solution. Insurance.
Right?
Is that a right fit for you? Is that what you need? I mean, if you got guarantees but could never touch the principal, are you going to be happy with that?
Probably not.
Probably not. If you got guarantees but your last dollar ran out with your last breath and nothing was left behind for anybody or anything, are you okay with that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So it's not a solution. And people say, well, just buy a life insurance policy on top of it. Okay. Well, now you're on a strict, tight budget. And what are you going to do in 10 years when the cost of living's gone up and your income hasn't?
Right.
Ooh, painful, right? So, they may all sound like great solutions, but there's holes in every one of them. I can promise you that. That's why we work so hard to do what we do. We take the extra time to do what we do. We spend money on extra people to do what we do because we know one size doesn't fit all, and it's impossible. It's impossible for you to be just like your neighbor with the same strategy. So don't listen to those infomercials. Don't do it, please. I beg you, right? Watch the infomercials on TV and buy something, something, a gadget, right?
Yeah, buy one of those quick cookers.
Exactly. Do something different, but have something, have purpose, have something to be able to get your mind off your money. And that's probably the most important thing that you can do because I promise you this volatility that we saw in the last few weeks is the new norm. Get used to it. And with that, I'm going to say we're going to have Aaron Kennedy on the show, our very own CFA, next week, talking about the markets. You don't want to miss it right here on Life Planning 101. Be sure to tweet us this week at KFS Life Planning. Is your current financial situation keeping you awake at night? Do our sleep test. Let us know. Right. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. God bless everyone and have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.